Redhead Siren, Insomnia Overnight, where ideas are born. It's better than counting sheep. Insomnia. For all who do not sleep. As you might remember from my previous story, exact sciences have never been my strong suit. The only reason I wasn't expelled from school was my ability to convincingly fake being a reasonable, intelligent person, especially in algebra, geometry, physics, and may the heavens help us all, chemistry. I still believe these subjects are much smarter than me. I somehow managed to get decent grades in algebra, but only because my parents couldn't bear the white noise in my brain anymore and hired a tutor, my actual algebra teacher, no less. A lovely woman with nose of steel. To this day, I have no idea why she didn't just walk into the wall out of frustration after our lessons. I guess her overwhelming desire to locate the lost remains of my brain and attempt to revive it kept her going. And believe it or not, she actually succeeded. The day after tutoring, I would enter the classroom like a knight on a white horse, armed with my notebook and the proud knowledge that I had finally understood the previous topic. Ha ha ha! However, unlike me, algebra never stayed in one place. By the end of the lesson, my enthusiasm would wane as we delved into a new topic. At this point, my head would carefully pretend that it did not belong to me and would watch flies on the ceiling. So, as you can imagine, that same evening there was another math rehearsal. Physics? I don't remember much. For a long time, we didn't even have a teacher. When one finally showed up, I managed to solve problems and occasionally even got top marks. But that was pure muscle memory and the result of conditioned reflexes. Let's be real. If you can train a monkey to play the trumpet, you can train me to put numbers in the right places. But the real nightmare was chemistry. And our chemistry teacher, whose style of dress could best be described as the mourning of a drowned mouse. The only thing I remember about her is that she always wore grey. She taught the same way, monotonously reading from a textbook, unfortunately out loud. Then came the tests, the bane of my existence. But where my intellect failed me, cunning prevailed. I sat next to the excellent student Helen, who in fact solved my version right after hers. I don't remember how I talked her into it. Most likely she took on my problems not because she loved me very much, which is a pity, but simply because she found them interesting to solve. Besides, I found the word ox-eyed funny because I always turned it into ox-eyed and giggled to myself. That was the end of my passion for chemistry. But to this day, I venerate and worship those who truly understand this incomprehensible science. For a while, I lived a peaceful existence, free from solving equations and drawing bisectors, those traitorous lines dividing everything, just like my ex did. Life was good. Thunder was just an act of God, and a guy who grew salt crystals was a wizard. But then, out of nowhere, I felt the urge to understand things. This dangerous curiosity came from my boyfriend, now husband. His unholy love for chemistry and his obsession with the YouTube channels Veritasium and Vsauce, where, brace yourself, science is explained in a clear, simple and accessible way. They break down the universe, physical laws and scientific theories in straight-up, no BS, tough guy terms. After my first successful attempt at watching, with constant pauses and requests to re-explain the already explained, I got inspired and asked my husband for more smart content the next evening. A big mistake. Imagine watching a movie in your native language, following the plot perfectly, when, suddenly, out of nowhere, the characters switch to Korean without subtitles, with occasional bits of your native language. That's what happened to me. I could only grasp the prepositions and interjections. Not exactly a fun cinematic experience, you know? I would have liked a noun or two, maybe some familiar verbs. Instead, all I got was quasar, ions, quantum entanglement, and the field's force lines are evenly distributed. At first it starts out fine, treating you like a reasonable person. Hey, do you know why a stream of water bends towards the glass rubbed against your hair? And you think, yeah, this is my moment. Tomorrow I'll casually ask my friends this question, enjoy the attention, and then, just as casually, answer it myself, easy and relaxed. But then the explanation begins, and it's ions. The only ion I know is iPhone, and that's because the words are similar. So in my world, ions and iPhones exist in the same category of things. We turned off that stupid episode and put on another one, about information. Finally, I thought, I'll definitely understand this. But no, at first, everything was in my native language, Russian. Then, suddenly, in Korean again. Ta-da! It turns out that information in its pure form is entropy, which I'm sure explains everything perfectly to everyone except me. Entropy. White noise. Shit. From the glassy look in my eyes, Sergei knew this had to stop and switch to cartoons, but the damage was done. I went into the kitchen and cried. I'm not kidding. I stood by the window, sobbing into the curtain, bemoaning my own stupidity and laughing at myself at the same time. Seriously, who cries about this? It's 11 p.m. on a Saturday. What do I care about ions? I'm already beautiful. Sensing that our marriage was on the verge of collapse over science, Sergei came to the kitchen, took my hand, and led me into the world of knowledge, after wisely downing a beer. Honestly, I would have taken a shot of something stronger if I were him. He grabbed a piece of paper and spent the next 2 hours, when he had to go to work the next morning, explaining concepts like frequency is the inverse of the period, which is a measure of time. The sound volume is proportional to the voltage expressed in volts. All while keeping the same neutral expression somewhere between "this beer is great" and "die you idiot." And, most impressively, he was the first person who finally explained to me the binary system. How music, video, any data can be broken down into ones and zeros, pole and hole, you know. When he first told me that every sound, and not only sound, is just a change in signal level over time, I stared at him with the eyes of Anna Karenina colliding with a train. That is, bulging eyes. Another Korean lesson began, I thought to myself with a sigh. How can sound and time be related? For me, it's like purple and sour. Sound is itself, time is itself. But Sergei got carried away and drew me a bunch of graphs, and I didn't faint. Usually, when I see any graphs, I immediately faint. But here I didn't. And I even realized how the computer understands that this is a D note, not an E. Here is a French horn, and here a pipe is playing. More precisely, he only correctly records information with 1, 0 and God's help, and then we understand all of this. This wasn't the first time my husband bravely fought the oatmeal in my head, and mostly he wins. I have no idea where he finds the patience to live with me, let alone explain physics and chemistry. He must be on antidepressants. So, to make sure his efforts don't go to waste, I decided to record everything he explains here in this podcast time to time. I can already picture his eye twitching as he reads this. He'll have to re-explain all difficult things for me and drink something before and after. But such is the fate of a teacher. Sorry. And somehow I get the feeling I'm not the only one with such a brain. Maybe, just maybe, my half-digested knowledge will help others tell ions from iPhones and transcendence from transvestites. As they say, if you can tell Benedict Cumberbatch from Bandit Cucumber Beach, you are a refined person. Hi everyone, I'm Red Hat Siren and I improve my English here. Some of these stories are true from my life, but not always. Subscribe to my podcast, like it and share it with your friends. I would be happy. See you next time!